I used to run a program. I used to be chat show host of Here's Shekhar. And structure, the idea of structure is our greatest illusion. Chaos is the order of how we live, how life is chaotic. What have I found out about my life? The one thing you realize that every moment you are a different person. You have so many identities. So I started to fantasize being at my parents' wedding and watching them fall in love. And I went to Kinnett College and I would see all those girls walking. He said, look, Shekhar ji, हम आपके आंखों में देखेंगे, हम टेलीविजन नहीं देखेंगे, आपकी फिल्म देखेंगे. I will see your pain in your eyes and I will sing to your pain. Aik Cup Chai.
Welcome to Aik Cup Chai. Aik Cup Chai Crossing Cultures is a show brought to you by the Independent Urdu. The Independent Urdu are a media organization that are focusing on stories for the British South Asian diaspora. If you want to check out any of their videos, make sure you head over to YouTube, type in Independent Urdu and check all of the stuff out that they have going on from there. Aik Cup Chai Crossing Cultures is a show where we've created to kind of speak to South Asian trailblazers, full stop, within sports, media, entertainment, fashion, you name it, we're speaking to them to find out more about their culture, their heritage, their identity, their struggles, their aims, and their ambitions. ये है Aik Cup Chai क्रॉसिंग कल्चर्स, एक प्रोग्राम जहाँ हम बात करते हैं लोगों से जो साउथ एशियन डायस्पोरा से हैं, उनकी बातें, उनकी स्ट्रगल्स, उनकी एम्बिशंस, उनकी इंस्पिरेशंस क्या है, ये चीज़ें हम पता चलना चाहते हैं और हम करते हैं ये चाय के साथ. Today joining us on the show is somebody who I've been able to, honored to work with first and foremost, but somebody outside of that who has built a significant reputation being a profound storyteller, a remarkable director, an amazing individual in and out. Joining us on Aik Cup Chai is the one, the only, the legend, Shekhar Kapur.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm not sure why you say honored. I asked to be on the show. I called you.
You are,
said, can I be on your show?
You're not lying at all. We put out the episode, I think it was episode 2. And I didn't see the message.
Really?
Because I get confused sometimes when there's too many messages coming in. And he sent me a message saying, hello, Shekhar has said he wants to come on the show. Can we get him on the show?
Right.
No, but thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
We appreciate it. When you said you wanted to come on, was there any particular reason why or?
Well, you surprised me when we were doing the film together. What's love got to do with it? And I thought I was just casting an actor who was good actor and with good comedic timing, as you do have. I then realized that you were a documentary filmmaker. And then you told me a story about you and your father.
Yeah.
And then I started to say, hey, this guy's really interesting. Mind you, I have to say, I was surprised by the depth of talent in the Asian diaspora. This is the first one I've done in the UK. I was just amazed at the amount of talent I had and the amount of choices I had. So then I started to look at you, then I looked at your documentary and realized there was far more to you than one part in one film justified.
cult classics, right, from Indian cinema, and this is like a British synergy, cultural, romantic comedy. What was your experience like? What was the difference between doing a Mr. India, for example, to a What's Love Got to Do with it?
Anywhere that I've shot all over the world. What I say is that everything's different, say in India or here or the US or Africa, to the point that I say action, up to the point where I say cut. It's exactly the same. I'm no different. It's all about people in the zone, actors in the zone. And then after the cut, there are things that happen that have to do with the culture of that place. Okay. And before action, there's some things that happen, the politics of wherever I am. But between action and cut is the same. And I'm one of those directors that loves actors. I'm a director because I like actors. I love working with actors. And to me, that was the most interesting part of What's Love Got to Do with it. To be able to do a rom-com and get real performances. There is a genre of rom-com here, all over the world, but also in England where, the rom-com action is, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, oh, nice, really nice to see you.
Yeah.
And I said, no, let's just be real.
Yeah.
Let the comedy pay out of the reality of it. So I remember the scene that you did on the table with, chucking things at your elder brother and everything that was done. One of the things that everybody said, Shekhar, the actors and the performances are so real that the film looks so real. And that's what I loved doing. This was my first, Mr. India was a rom-com, but Mr. India was like this huge kids special effects, visual effects film.
Yeah. How did you, being of South Asian descent, build this remarkable career as a director to be able to do amazing high-end films like that? Did it happen overnight? What was the process like for you?
When the process happened, you have many, many, many different ways that you can interpret the process, depending on who's asking and how honest you want to be and how philosophical you want to be. I used to be a chartered accountant here.
Oh, really?
UK. Yeah.
I was going to pick up on that.
Yeah?
I was going to pick up on that and say, how was that going from becoming a chartered accountant, I assume, off the back of what your parents wanted you to do, to where you are today?
Middle class Indian boy. You have few choices.
I've got the same journey. Same journey.
He's an accountant as well.
Really?
Once
you
upon
are?
a time, yeah.
Okay.
Well, a good one. Used to be.
I used to be a good one, I think. I used to be a management consultant. But I didn't jump from being an accountant into film. I left accounting.
Okay.
I walked away from accounting not knowing where I'm going. And at that time, I realized, I was about 24 at that time, and I realized that I want to do something with my life in which my whole life would be a process of discovery of the self. And I didn't think at that time accounting was giving me. I had no idea what was I going to do, what I was going to do. So I literally just walked into the unknown.
Was there anything that specifically triggered you from walking away? Was there a specific moment that you can recall?
I used to go to a lot of art galleries, and I got paintings, and I was absolutely jealous of artists that they could paint something and express their own inner self in a painting. I fell in love with Van Gogh at that time, and I remember going and watching and staring at Starry Nights. And then I read that Van Gogh painted it when he was in the asylum, almost at the point where he had been, mad, the point where he had cut off his ear and things. And yet I could not take my eyes off that painting. And he had just painted the whole meaning of the universe for me in there.
Wow.
And that meaning of the universe could not have come from just staring at the universe, because art is the assumption of how you interpret what you see.
Exactly, yeah.
So you take in all your perceive everything around you, you digest it in your own self, and then you let it out. I could not do that in accounting. I couldn't.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very spot on.
Right?
Like somebody saying that they want to be an accountant to discover themselves. I mean, they'll be able to understand how financially afloat they are, or how their finances are going, which is one aspect, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not for the rest of their entire being. But I really like that, because I think it's similar to what we were saying, like documentary filmmaking, acting, presenting, writing, poetry. human beings sometimes can be fascinated by other human beings. And I think discovery of the self is very, very important for you to understand like who you are, what makes you become yourself. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself whilst discovering like yourself?
Okay, so the lesson is always change. I mean, one of the things is that the first thing I had to learn as I went, and I fell into filmmaking, but I've done acting. You know the first thing I did, actually?
Was acting?
No, acting. But also I was a chat show host on Channel 4 television here in the UK.
No, you're lying.
Yeah, I used to run a program. I used to be chat show host of Here's Shekhar. and it was called On the Other Hand, and was about the hidden secrets of the South Asian community. What are we hiding from people?
You're lying.
No.
What year was
It
that?
was called On the Other Hand. Many years ago. It was Channel 4.
And this was in the what? 90s?
It was the 80s.
In the 80s?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah, that must have been.
90s? When did I make Bandit Queen? That's how I got the funding from Bandit Queen. Bandit Queen was funded by Channel 4.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you got the funding from Channel 4 to make Bandit Queen?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, your question was, what have I found out about my life? The one thing you realize that every moment you are a different person. You have so many identities. And thank God for that. Imagine me going through exactly the same idea. Who are you? Oh, I'm Shekhar Kapur and I'm
An
blah,
accountant.
blah, blah, blah. One day later, I'm Shekhar, blah, blah, blah. But no. Every day, your sense of yourself changes. Every day. So the first thing you learn is to be comfortable with change. Most of us are not. Most of us are desperately afraid of uncertainty. Change is uncertain. Most of us are sitting there saying, what's tomorrow going to be like? And desperately, we sit on the same chair, we watch the same show, we want to talk to the same people, we want to walk our dog at the same time, we want to get into my car. Something goes wrong. The traffic light goes wrong. We say, oh my God, it's all changed. What's happening?
Can't handle it.
Can't handle it.
You know them people when they're honking their horns.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are doing that.
So the one thing that I learned, that uncertainty, it's not that I'm not afraid of uncertainty.
No.
But I've got to come to terms with the fear of uncertainty. So I know it's uncertainty. I know I'm going to be afraid. I'm human.
But it's hard, right? Like, say for an individual who hasn't had the career path that you've had, for example, directing films, acting in films, doing many different things, and they have a 9-to-5 routine, for example, they do want to get out of it. They do want to break it, but they don't know how, because financially for them, that is their bread and butter. What advice would you give to them? Because you've kind of done that. You had that chartered accountant background and you've now went into filmmaking, which is completely uncertain. What would you tell that person who's thinking about, maybe I should switch things up in my career, but they don't know how to do it?
So I would say this: look back at your life. Just look back at your life with absolute honesty, and ask yourself, how many things happened in your life that actually happened within your control? And how many things happened that just happened and you adjusted to that? We were not born out of our own control. We will not die out of our control. We don't fall in love with our own control. We don't, our friends don't pass away or get married. We have very little control of our lives. And yet every day we say, oh yeah, I'm in control. You said the guy has his financial things. What happened in 2008 to him? What happens tomorrow? What happens? Yeah. And so when I know that when I look back, and I look back at how many things happened because they were meant to happen, or they happened by chance. And I know that, but the one thing was, structure, the idea of structure is our greatest illusion. Chaos is the order of how we live, how life is chaotic.
It's interesting, but when you're young, like say for me, I needed everything structured. I needed it to keep sane. Otherwise, my mind I feel like it will just be going out of control because I have no routine, I have no structure. As I've become older, that's changed, right? As in, I don't like it as much. But is structure really a bad thing? Like, can it not?
It's not a bad thing. It just doesn't exist. It's not a bad thing. It's like
Man-made.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. Can I?
Yeah, of course you do. This is a show for you to tell the best and amazing stories that you want. How dare you ask me? Can I tell you a story?
Right.
Yeah, you can. Say whatever you like.
Okay. So just imagine, I have to put my cup down because I'm going to gesticulate a little. And before a day's shoot, I prepare like a general going to war. I may look like I'm not prepared, but I'm obsessively prepared for the day's shoot. The Nusrat would go up and down, and suddenly I knew Rahat comes in because it's very high-pitched, high. Very, very few people can go to the pitch that Rahat used to be able to go. What I'm making a film on is people don't look at your house. They don't look at a house anymore. They look at a property. Real life lies outside being normal. I'm not saying abnormal, but the description of normal becomes the description of being average, of being standardized, and then you're not. और बनाओ यार चाय पीऊंगा पिलाओ तो
और चाय देते हैं शेखर को पीने के लिए. Do you think that the language is dying out?
Urdu?
Yeah.
Imagine that you're floating down in life on a parachute, right? And your life's fine. You have control of the parachute, right? Do this, it'll go right. Do this, it'll go left. If the storm comes, the parachute will save you. You'll go through a storm period, but you're still floating down the parachute. I'm fine. I'm in control. I have my parachute. And somebody comes to you and says, why don't you look up? And you say, why would I look up? And you say, no, just look up. It's okay. And you look up and you suddenly realize there's no parachute. There never was. And then you start to scream and say, hey, I'm going to fall. I'm falling, I'm going to fall, I'm going to die. And you say, look down. I can't look down, I'm too scared. Look down. You look down. There's nothing to fall into. So where did I come from? I have no idea. So we developed mythology. That's where storytelling comes from. Oh, there was this god that we were on that, and they pushed off. The good god tried to save us. The bad god pushed us off. And so we were falling. Then the parachute, we developed gods and mythology around those. And then we are falling down. Somebody's going to save us.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's what you soon have to come to terms with. It's nothing. So then you say, oh my God, then who the hell am I? That's the right question.
To ask yourself that.
Yeah. Who am I?
Yeah,
Who
because
am
that
I? Without structure.
Because that comes back to your discovery of the self point that you're making.
Who am I?
Who am I? Yeah.
It's like going on the tube, right? And the tube's swaying or the bus is swaying and you're all holding on. And just imagine you're holding on and realize that there was actually nobody's holding on to anything. They're just swaying. There's no structure. You're not holding on to anything. Yeah. That's the illusion. But now, is that a bad thing?
No, I think
The question is, if you knew exactly, what would love be without uncertainty?
What would love be without uncertainty?
You would not fall in love. You only fall in love because of the adventure of it. Right? The idea, the very word adventure is uncertainty. Why would I climb a mountain if I knew exactly that I'm going to get there, I'm going to be able to breathe, and I'm going to come down, and there's no way that I'm going to fall, and there's no way I'm going to die? Would I climb a mountain? We do because we might fail. It's the uncertainty and the mystery of love and the mystery of life and the uncertainty of life that actually drives life itself.
Because that's it. Because you're a very, when I look at your Instagram and stuff and I see a lot of philosophical analysis and deep thoughts that are presented on there, which I'm a fan of.
You know what I do? I'm a bit obsessive. And before a day's shoot, I prepare like a general going to war. I may look like I'm not prepared, but I'm obsessively prepared for the day's shoot.
Did you do this for What's Love Got to Do?
Every day.
Did you ever see that in him when you were shooting?
Never. He hid it so well. I'd come on set and everyone's frantic like this, like running around. Even me, I'm like, yo, what's going on? What do I have to do? I would come to Shekhar and he would be just so like, how you doing? You okay? And I'm like, why is this man so calm? Like, so calm.
So here's what I do. I prepare for everything, but that moment that you came to me and said, what do I do? How can I prepare? How can I prepare for a moment that has not happened? I can only guess. And guess is not what leads to something organic. Guess is some, So I prepare for something, and then at the last moment, I have to unprepare. I have to let go of all preparation.
Okay.
All right? And I use techniques.
Oh, I get what you're saying now. You prepare so meticulously that then when it comes to the day,
you're ready for any situation, basically.
Yeah, but you let it go.
Yeah.
So that whatever comes.
I have to get my ego out of the way.
Yeah,
I have to get my mind out of the way, and I do it by panicking myself. And every day, all my life, every film, I come to the set saying, today they're going to discover that I'm a complete con. Today somebody's going to discover that I don't know my job. No, I do that to myself.
But isn't that like an imposter syndrome that we all have?
Yeah, maybe I use it.
Yeah,
I use it. Or if I can't do that, I'll listen to Nusrat Fateh Khan Qawwalis because they are so chaotic.
Did you direct him?
He did the music for Bandit Queen.
How weird is this though? So he done the music for Bandit Queen, and his son Rahat,
Rahat's his nephew.
Sorry, nephew. Done this music for What's Love Got to Do with It. That is phenomenal. Like to have that in your career span as a director. I find that amazing.
What was it like working with him in Bandit? As in directing him? Because I feel there's only a few people that can tell that story.
I can tell you an incident. It was R.D. Burman. Do you remember R.D. Burman, the composer?
Heard the name,
Sholay and all those songs.
Yeah.
He was a huge fan of R.D. And we were doing the music for Bandit Queen. And we had a small studio, smaller than the studio we're in now. And he was sitting in front of me, and R.D. died that day.
He died that day?
Yeah. And he was really deeply, emotionally upset by that, Nusrat. And I had a small television, because we couldn't afford it, running the film, and he would do the music. And he said, look, Shekhar ji, हम आपके आंखों में देखेंगे, हम television नहीं देखेंगे, आपकी film नहीं देखेंगे. I mean, I will see your pain in your eyes, and I will sing to your pain, because you will reflect the pain of your film.
Wow.
So he very rarely looked at the screen. It was very disconcerting to have one of the greatest singers of all time directly looking at you constantly and singing and saying that I can see, look at me because I can see the film in your eyes. Wow. And that day he said, how close were you? I've done a film with R.D. Burman. So he said, you're in pain. I said, I am. I said, okay, show me the plane, he said. He was just singing. So it was a different way. That's why completely unstructured. Whereas you have, normally you have an orchestra, you have a composer, you have notes, and the way they sing, it's all formal and structured. And it was so different.
Wow.
Just a way.
That's remarkable. Like just to be able to experience that and witness that as one of, because he's like on the greatest Pakistani singers, full stop.
He's the greatest Sufi singer of all time, not just Pakistani, just worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see resemblances or characteristics that were similar in Rahat with Nusrat?
Yeah, Rahat has a different voice. Rahat was a voice in Bandit Queen. He was a kid that time.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and he had a very high-pitched voice.
Oh, okay.
And his voice was very high-pitched, and Nusrat would go up and down, and suddenly I knew Rahat comes in because it's very high-pitched, high. Very, very few people can go to the pitch that Rahat used to be able to go to. And I used him in a film that I did with Heath Ledger called Four Feathers.
Okay.
And you'll hear in the war, you'll hear this Sufi singer coming in, and that's Rahat at this very high. When everybody was dying, suddenly this very high pitch suddenly came in, and that was Rahat.
You've got quite a few probably unfinished projects. Would you ever think of releasing anything?
You mean shot and not completed?
Yeah, like unreleased that people have not seen.
Yeah.
You've got
I got one with Amir Khan.
No way.
He was a kid.
That's his favorite actor.
Really?
Well, one of.
It's called Time Machine.
A Bollywood film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read about this.
Yeah.
Time Machine.
Is
That
there
was
a
about
reason
it.
that's holding you back, or is there
No,
you just you
it's
don't?
because he's grown up now. You know, he was a kid when I shot that film. It was like then we ran out of money, so we never got finished.
Anytime Amir Khan does a film, though, and I don't know what your experience is of this, but as audiences and as fans of, say, Bollywood cinema, his movie choices are always usually, there's a theme behind it, there's a message behind it, there's something that either he clicks with, connects with, that he really wants to do it. Did Time Machine have that for him as well? Or was he too young?
Time Machine was a bit spiritual, esoteric. It was about a guy that wants to go back to meet his. It was something that I always wanted to do, because one day I went to see my dad. He was about 80 by then, and my dad and I shared a very formal relationship. I didn't know much about him, but we never talked. And one day he told me have a few drinks with me, and I did. And then suddenly he came out and said, "Do you want to box me?" And I said, "Dad, you're 80 years old." All right.
Just randomly he said, "Do you want to box me?"
Yeah. And he suddenly took the position of a southpaw. And I knew that this was a boxing posture, so he must have boxed.
Oh, like in the past?
In the past. So I said, "Dad," he said, "Yeah, I was Punjab state boxing champ." He was a doctor. He was like everybody who thought he was the most organized, formal person. This man was the Punjab. Then I went to Lahore. I found that he met my mother at a girls' college called the Connect College, and he fell in love with her. So he took a job, because he was studying medicine, to teach there, so he could see her every day.
No
I
way.
didn't know anything. You know, how much do we really know about our parents? Because you think,
true,
oh, it's our
man.
parents. You know,
It's
we
so
pay.
true, yeah.
So I started to fantasize being at my parents' wedding and watching them fall in love. And I went to Connect College, and I would see all those girls walking around and said, "Oh, this is how my father must have seen my you know." And so I made a film that was Time Machine.
You based that on
based
okay.
on a kid that wants to go back and
Relive
the moment of when his parents fell in love.
That's a fascinating concept, and I think that's
That came out of me not knowing my father, and I said, I want to know my dad. I want to know him.
What we do on the show, right? Anytime we get someone on who's talented, say we've had musicians on, we've had
Well,
presenters
you'll have
on.
to wait for somebody else.
Nah, you are very talented. You've got films with Amir Khan that haven't been released. What do you mean? We get them to like show their talent in a way, right? For like 1 or 2 minutes. Now, obviously you're a director, but I know you're talented in other ways as well. The choice is yours. Could you direct us in a scene? I'll give you the scenario. We're two brothers. We've just come home from a bachelor party, and the scene needs to be us directed. You could either do that, or I heard you're a bit of a poet deep down, so we could maybe hear some of your poetry.
The thing about my poetry is I write it and forget it. Yeah.
So we're gonna go for the directing.
I'll audition you. How's that?
Audition us.
Okay.
Yeah, that is good.
What would you like to play? What part do you want to be auditioned for?
Well, I heard you're making a new film. I heard something's in the pipeline.
Okay, my next film is going to be about an 80-year-old man, a grumpy 80-year-old man.
Well, I don't think we fit the bill for that.
I'll let you take the stage.
Go
He's
for
the
it.
actor, so I'll let him take the stage.
Go for it.
Put him on the spot.
No, we can't.
Yes, you can.
Let's put you on the
This
spot.
is
I'm
typecast.
directing you. No, I'm directing you now.
80-year-old grumpy man.
Let me see. How does it feel? Let's do it now. Yeah. No, now you're acting. I want you to see you being. Just feel no energy. Absolutely no energy. Feel it. Feel the energy flowing out of your body. Just that's what you do. Yeah.
But there is no energy if you're an 8-year-old man.
That's what I mean.
I'm too energetic. I don't know how.
So that's what acting is about, and that's what directing is about. I have to convince you that you have no energy.
How do I get to there?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
He wishes
What
he
is
never
it that
did
you
this
can't
challenge
do?
now. He's regretted
It's
it.
not succeeding. Is it?
Maybe we pass on this one.
Okay. Let's pass on this. Let's go on. Yeah.
No, but are you being serious? That is actually your next film.
I'm making a film about what is value anymore. You know, when we see a painting, the first thing we say is like, what's it worth? It's money. So what I'm making a film on is people don't look at your house. They don't look at a house anymore. They look at a property.
True.
Don't they? What's our value? And my parents built a house. It's a home. It's memories. We don't talk about that. We talk about property. It's a property. That's my parents. Oh, my parents have a house in Delhi, and and say, oh, what's it worth? What's it worth?
How much is it?
Yeah, how much is it? So I'm making a film about what is home. The idea is, what is home with these two old people?
Okay.
That there's a huge pressure to sell it because suddenly. So the question is, yeah, it's gone up, but what is home? If it's not memories, if it's not a lifetime spent in a place that holds all your memories, that's what it's about. Whereas the whole of the world is looking upon it as, like, oh, can we buy it? Can we sell it? And that's what I'm making. What does value really mean?
Yeah.
Stripping everything back, basically.
Sorry?
Stripping everything back,
Yeah.
basically. I think that's what people struggle to do nowadays.
Yeah. We haven't had Shekhar speak in Urdu or Hindi.
चलो हिंदी में बात करते हैं.
यही मैंने कहना है, यही करना है. और चाय पीनी है?
और बनाओ यार, चाय पीऊंगा, पिलाओ तो.
और चाय देते हैं शेखर को पीने के लिए. Do you think that the language is dying out?
Urdu?
Yeah.
Well, every language should die out. I'll tell you why. Because for anything to survive, it has to learn to live with change. And that's true about culture.
Yeah.
It's true about language. I mean, otherwise, if I should be speaking, Sanskrit. How many people understand that?
Very true.
But we adapt to it. And if art doesn't adapt, if culture doesn't adapt, if societies don't adapt, then they'll die. Change is essential. You asked me earlier on, what have you learned all this time? And all I've learned is that change is essential. That's what life is about, is change and mystery. And the other thing I've learned is that we carry the burden of individuality too much.
Yes.
Too much.
Yeah.
I wish I could get rid of that.
Yeah,
but the more successful you are, the more individual you become, the more I am I,
Yeah.
And this idea of I is what burdens me all the time.
I think social media, again, has had a part to play in that. I'm so unique and different to everyone else.
I need to be unique and different because I exist because I'm individual.
Yeah.
So you suddenly actually become much smaller because you're obsessed with your own individuality. You're not part of a conscious whole.
Yeah, or something bigger than you.
Yeah.
That I think brings you more peace of mind actually than being so individually focused.
It was I was walking on Malibu Beach, and there was a storm. One of my trips to California, and there was a gust of wind, and the waves were high, and a drop fell on my finger. And suddenly the drop said, "Oh, hi." I said, "What?" He said, "Wish me happy birthday." I said, "Wait a minute. What do you mean happy birthday? You're just a drop out of the ocean." He said, "No, I'm not. I was born this day. I was born on Shekhar Kapur's finger in Malibu, the most expensive real estate in the world." And the drop started to explain to me its individuality and said, "Wish me happy birthday." And then suddenly there was another gust of wind that came, right?
Yeah.
And the drop, it just took the drop away back into the ocean. And I said, "Hey, drop." And the ocean said, "How are you?" The whole ocean said, "How are you?"
Said like a true wordsmith.
Yeah.
That's what I say. That's what I call you. I think you're a great storyteller and a great wordsmith. Before we go, I just wanted to get, if there is any young individuals who are maybe watching the show and they were requiring some sort of advice, like any message that you might have for the younger generation of viewers that might be watching the show, what advice would you give to them? Not even from a career, but just
Life
in
perspective.
life. Yeah, because you've lived so much of it. Some them might not have male figures in their life. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say, get out of the box of being normal. There is a coffin of normalcy that I call it, you know. And life lies beyond the coffin of, I'm normal. And that through your life, you realize that not only are you getting bigger, the coffin's getting smaller. So you have to bounce off and look, because real life lies outside being normal. I'm not saying abnormal, but the description of normal becomes the description of being average, of being standardized, and then you're nothing. So rebel against being that thing that say, "Oh, this is normal." Rebel against it. Otherwise, you'll be coffin. You're in a coffin before you die.
Wise words. Don't be normal.
Don't be
Otherwise, you'll be in a coffin.
Yeah.
Basically. Now, Shekhar, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope
My
you
pleasure.
enjoyed it. And yeah, we will be back another time with another guest. You've been tuned into Aik Cup Chai Crossing Cultures right here, broadcasting in London, brought to you by the Independent Urdu. See you soon.
We had to start before you came in.
That's all right. You okay?
Hey, nice to meet you. Hi, how are you?
Honored to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And
No.
Vincent,
Chai.